The cold wind howled through the darkened alley as the widow stood alone on the cobbled street, clutching her child tightly to her chest. Her heart beat in a frantic rhythm, each thud echoing her desperation, fear, regret, love, and an overwhelming sense of duty. She knew she wasn't the woman she had once been, the woman who had dreams and hopes for a future filled with love. But now, the reality was clear. She couldn't give her child what she needed, what she deserved. Not in this world, not in this life. She hadn't planned for this, for the heart-wrenching decision she was about to make. But life had left her with no choice. His eyes, however, were clear, steady, and unsettlingly calm. She never stopped thinking about her daughter, wondering where she was, what kind of life she had found, and whether or not she was safe. She was raised in a world far removed from the life she would have had with her mother. A hunger, a need to understand who she was, where she had come from, and why her life had been so strange. The questions gnawed at her, and the answers she found were never enough. She knew she was different, that there was a history she had been kept from, and that one day she would have to confront it. The stranger who had taken her in was not the man she had expected. He was cold, distant, but he provided for her. She had opened it without thinking, the ink on the paper unfamiliar, but somehow inviting. But this time, she didn't hesitate. This time, she stepped forward, meeting her daughter's gaze. The words inside were simple, straightforward, but they carried a weight that sent a chill down her spine. Her mother, alive, the woman who had given her away, who had let her go. She didn't know what to say, what to feel. All she knew was that the answers were within her reach, and for the first time in her life, she had the power to choose what came next. But I couldn't give you what you needed. I couldn't protect you from the world. I thought this was the only way. She traveled for days, her heart racing as she neared the place where her past awaited her. When she finally arrived, standing before the same alley where it had all begun, she was no longer the child in the shadows. She was a woman, and the reckoning was at hand. She had spent her whole life searching for answers, for someone to tell her why. But now, in this moment, she realized that the answers didn't matter. It was a reckoning, not just for the girl, but for the woman, too. They had both been lost in different ways for so long, but now they had found each other. What mattered was the choice she made from here on out. The woman who had once loved her, but could no longer keep her. The emotions that flooded her were a mixture of confusion, anger, and a strange sense of hope. "We start again," the girl said softly, and with that the two women turned and walked into the future together. The world she had known for so long seemed to shatter in that moment, revealing a new world she had never even known existed. She learned quickly that in this world, survival came first and love came second, if at all. Her childhood was filled with the quiet hum of a life lived in the shadows, where affection was a luxury and pain a constant companion. But life had a way of moving on, of forcing her to forget, and so she did. But the memory of her child never fully left her. It stayed with her, buried deep, a reminder of the sacrifice she had made. There was a kindness to them, but also an air of danger, as though he had seen things that no one should ever witness. The weight of the world hung heavy on her shoulders, each breath a battle she could barely win. She needs a chance. You can give her that chance. She had lost everything, her husband, her home, her sense of hope. The widow stepped back, her chest tight with pain as she watched him disappear into the shadows with the last piece of her heart. The world seemed to blur around her, the weight of the decision sinking in with every passing second. And now, The thing she loved most in the world, her little girl, would be lost too. As she looked into the innocent eyes of her child, a storm of emotions swirled inside her. The sounds of footsteps drew her from her thoughts. A man stood before her, tall and imposing, his face shadowed by the brim of his hat. She swallowed hard, her throat dry. "Take her," she whispered, her voice breaking. The man didn't hesitate. He reached out and took the child from her arms without a word, his expression unreadable. But there was no turning back now. The child was gone, and with her, so too was the woman she used to be. Years passed, and the widow's life continued to crumble, piece by piece. As for the child, she grew just as children do. But as she grew older, something within her began to stir. And then that day came. It started with a letter. A letter that was placed on her doorstep one cold winter's evening. "Your mother is still alive," it read. "She never stopped looking for you. The time has come for you to find her." The words echoed in her mind long after she had read them. She didn't waste time. She packed her things, leaving behind the life she had known for one that was filled with uncertainty and the promise of answers. The widow stood there, just as she had all those years ago, the same pain, the same fear in her eyes. "I knew you would come," the widow whispered, her voice trembling. "I never stopped hoping." The girl, now a woman, stared at her mother, her eyes filled with the weight of the years, the unanswered questions, and the deep longing that had shaped her. "Why did you leave me?" she asked, her voice steady but filled with the hurt of a lifetime. The widow's eyes filled with tears as she looked at the woman her child had become. "I didn't want to," she whispered. The girl, now fully a woman, took a deep breath, her hand reaching out toward her mother, a gesture of forgiveness and understanding that she hadn't known she was capable of. The two women stood there, locked in a moment of silence that spoke louder than any words ever could. The last words spoken were simple yet profound.